Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. It is our regular town board meeting of the town of Rhinebeck. It is September 14th at 6 p.m. Would everybody like to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States of America
and to
and
the
to the republic
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will make a motion for the approval of prior minutes for our August 10th regular town board meeting and our August 24th special town board meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alan. Is there any discussion? Any questions, comments, town board members? Did we lose Ed? Oh, no, there he is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Ed, I can't really see you.
I'm having a problem on this end.
Okay, well, as long as you're there.
I'm there.
I'm going to hold announcements, committee and liaison reports and go right to the continuation of our public hearing for a local law amending chapter 125 of the zoning in the matter of revising a district schedule of use regulations to allow a motor vehicle repair and service establishment in the ORP zoning district pursuant to the issuance of a special use permit and site plan review and approval, and to provide criteria for such use. We have a public hearing. Does anybody wish to comment at this public hearing? Town board members, any comments? Anybody from the public, any comments? Hearing none, I'm going to move to close the public hearing. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chauncey. Warren, hi, you want to take over?
Hi, okay. The only thing remaining, I provided you.
Should we let me bring the resolution.
Yeah, why don't you do that? That's a good idea.
Let's, hold on, we'll vote on this right now. We've got, I will bring forward, this is tab number 10, resolution 2020-187, accepting the proposed local law and scheduling of a public hearing for proposed local law number 2B determined of the year 2020, entitled a local law amending town code chapter 125 and zoning in the matter of regulating wrong.
Oh, yeah, it's not 10, is it?
John, where is our resolution?
Came via separate email, I thought.
Town clerk?
Would you like me to read the caption, Elizabeth? I have it in front of me.
It's not on our agenda.
It was emailed to you this afternoon by Warren.
It's not on our agenda.
No, it's not.
Okay, I didn't get a copy. I apologize. Chauncey, why don't you read it?
Resolution adopting.
Well, wait, we can't read the resolution first. We have to finish seeker.
Warren, we're bringing the resolution to the floor to vote. We have to bring the resolution for this to the floor before we can do seeker, correct?
No, we have to finish seeker first, then bring the resolution to the floor. So
Okay.
let me do the seeker. It'll just take a few minutes, okay? So I think you all have, sent to you, a part 2 and part 3 of the full environmental assessment form. That was prepared by our consultant, James Levy. We've already prepared a part 1, which we've accepted. And we need to just go over the part 2, which answers the questions regarding the potential environmental significance of the project. So I'm just going to read each section of the part 2, and James and I have already filled it out and just need your consent to agree with what we have put in there. So the first issue is, will the proposed action have any impact on land? We have indicated no because it does not, the action is the rezoning of the office research park provisions of the code. It does not involve a site-specific action, and it will not involve the construction or physical alteration of the land. So we've indicated that no. If you have any objections to what we've indicated, let me know as I go through it. The next would be impact on geological features. And the question is, will the proposed action result in any modifications or destructions of or inhibit access to any unique, unusual landforms on the site, including, for example, cliffs, dunes, minerals, etc. Again, not a site-specific project. We've answered that no. Number 3, impacts on water. Will the proposed action affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies? We've indicated no. 4, impact on groundwater. Will the proposed action result in any new or additional use of groundwater? Or will it have the potential to introduce contaminants to the groundwater? Again, we've answered that no. Impact on flooding. Will the proposed action result in any development of land subject to flooding? We've indicated no. 6, impacts on air. Will the proposed action include a state-regulated air emission source? No. 7, impact on plants and animals. Will the proposed action result in a loss of flora or fauna? We've indicated no. 8, will the proposed action impact agricultural resources? We've indicated no. 9, will the proposed action impact aesthetic resources? We've indicated no. 10, will the proposed action impact historic or archaeological resources? We've indicated no. 11, impact on open space and development. Will the proposed action result in any loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction in open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan? We've indicated no. 12, impact on a critical environmental area. Will the proposed action be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area? We've indicated no. 13, impact on transportation. Will the proposed action result in a change to existing transportation systems? Again, we've indicated no. 14, impact on energy. Will the proposed action cause any increase in the use or any form of energy? We've indicated no. 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. Will the proposed action result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting? Again, we've answered no. 16, impact on human health. Will the proposed action have an impact on human health from exposure to or existing sources of contamination? We've indicated no. 17, is the action consistent with community plans? We have indicated that it is consistent, and so we've answered that no. Is the action consistent with community character? Is it inconsistent with existing community character? We've indicated no. That would be part 2 of the full environmental assessment form. We've also completed a part 3, and I'll just read to you. It's a very short analysis. What we've put in here, the proposed action will result in the addition of a use to a table use for the office research park zoning district located along Route 9G in the town of Rhinebeck. The proposal brought about by a petition for zoning amendment submitted by Rugi's Automotive, Inc., and then processed by the town board, adds a motor vehicle repair and service establishment to the office research park zoning district and is generally consistent with the intent of the district to provide for office, commercial, and light manufacturing uses. The proposed use is also similar to the large equipment rental or sales use already permitted in the zoning district. This is a modification of an existing zoning district, which will add a use generally consistent with the intent of the district, and it is similar to an existing use. It was determined that the proposed rezoning will not result in any significant adverse impact. Also, like to point out that the proposed zoning will also provide a community benefit in that it's going to reduce some of the impact on the existing Rugies operation located in the town of, in the village of Red Hook, if and when
Village of
the,
Rhinebeck.
I'm sorry, what, Rhinebeck? I have a meeting with Red Hook after this one. My mind is in Red Hook. In the town of, in the town of Rhinebeck. It will reduce, we hope, some of the impact on the existing Rugies facilities in the village, and will therefore provide a benefit to the town, which supports the rezoning. If and when an application is made for a site-specific site plan special use permit for that property, there'll be a much more intensive environmental review of that site-specific project. But for the time being, the rezoning itself, we determined and advised the board to agree that it will not result in any significant environmental impact statement, environmental impacts, and that the preparation of environmental impact statement need not be prepared. So if you are all in accordance with that, the negative. Pardon? Couldn't hear that. Someone say something?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think.
If you're,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, if you're all in accordance with that, then you can go ahead to the resolution, which contains the language with regard to the negative declaration.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2020-189 for amending our chapter 125 zoning in the matter of revising the district schedule of the use regulations to allow a motor vehicle repair and service establishment in the ORP zoning district pursuant to the issuance of a special use permit and a site plan review and approval, and to provide criteria for such use. May I have a second?
Second.
Was that Ed? Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any other discussion or questions?
And in the resolution is the negative declaration, and gives us the history also of the rezoning process. Once you adopt that resolution, you'll also know what's going on. There seems to be a reverberation. Once you adopt the resolution, you'll be adopting the negative seeker declaration. And when you pass the resolution, the local law will have to be filed with the Department of State and also published in the environmental notice bulletin for the DEC.
Great. I guess I'll do it by, unless the board has any questions or comments, by roll call. Alan?
Aye.
Josh Pulver?
Aye.
Chauncey Walker?
Aye.
Ed Roberts?
Aye.
And Elizabeth Spinzia, yes. So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, we're done with that.
Good luck, Scott and Rugies. We hope this helps with your business, and thanks for staying in Rhinebeck.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. This is a big hurdle passed, and we can now go to work on our site plan.
We wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to your continued thriving here.
Thanks to everybody that helped get this through, get it through and get it done. Appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Okay, is there anything else? You know, Warren, can you stay for the consolidated court study? And
Yes, yeah, I want to stay for that. Yep.
is there anything else on here that, we could do? I'm just going to skip around a little bit. I'd like to go to tab 10, resolution 2020-187, accepting the proposed local law and scheduling of a public hearing for proposed local law number to be determined of the year 2020, entitled A Local Law Amending Town Code Chapter 125 Zoning in the Matter of Regulating Play Structure Type Tree Houses in the town of Rhinebeck. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Okay, let's table it. Does anybody else?
There's a small detail that needs to be adjusted that was brought to my attention.
Okay, we will table this then, and is that okay with you, Town Board?
Yes.
Okay, table. Thanks,
I-
Jeff.
I didn't hear the reason for the tabling. What was that?
So I spoke to Chauncey earlier today, and he had a concern about the height. And if there's
Oh,
no
okay.
of how high the maximum. So I think it's a reasonable point. I think we should discuss it and tweak it that way.
Okay.
Great, so we'll table. Thanks, Josh.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go on to, let me just quickly look here. I'd like Warren to stay for the climate smart, the CSCA, and that, you know, and then our court consolidation presentation, which I'd like to skip around and do now. Just for the public, last year and a half ago, the town and the village received a grant from Dutchess County for consolidated services to look at and plan for consolidating our village and town courts. Villages in New York are not required to have courts, justice courts. Towns are. We went out for bid and we worked with a LaBerge group who worked with a steering committee of Chauncey Walker, myself, village trustee Richard Lewitt, and Mayor Gary Bassett, and they looked at all aspects of the justice court and spoke with Justice Kane, the judge who participated, all the staff, and looked at all the records and the caseloads for the past several years, and showed us many things. And you know, Kathleen Rooney and Lucy Stites are here this evening from LaBerge to take us through a presentation on what we found, what the recommendation and plan is, and how we're going forward. So thanks for coming, Kathleen.
Thank you. I'll wait for Lucy to put up the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kathleen Rooney, and as supervisor indicated, I'm a local government specialist with the LaBerge Group. We started this process earlier in 2020 and worked collaboratively with the steering committee of the town and the village. Maybe we could just move too quickly. What do we want to accomplish this evening in our presentation? So I'll start out with introductions, and then I think we'll move towards why did the town and village want to do this? And I think the supervisor has touched on a lot of that. We'll also talk through what was our study process, who did we engage with, what did we look at, so you get a feel for what we did. Then we want to move into a review of what were the findings from our process and what are the opportunities that we see for the village and town in working through a collaborative process. And then also we identified some grant opportunities. We recognize now those grant opportunities maybe stayed for a bit given the COVID environment, but we'll talk through those, and hopefully as things improve, we'll see some of those grant opportunities open back up. Maybe we can move to the next slide. I do want to just talk to you a little bit. Ben Seiden is the vice president of LaBerge, and he is our team leader. Ben was not able to make it tonight as he was having a pretty large medical procedure today. He wished he could be here as he was with the process from the beginning all the way through. And as I indicated, I'm a local government specialist. I come to this with 30 years of municipal management experience. Ben brings to this almost a quarter of a century of experience working with municipalities on shared services, including in numerous projects that involved justice court shared services and consolidations. So that history, I think, became very helpful as we teased through a lot of the issues. LaBerge Group's approach to this is really a partnership. We don't come do a study with paperwork and then hand it off to you. This was a completely collaborative process with the steering committee, as town supervisor indicated, and lots of interface with the staff from the courts and the staff from each of the town and village. Everyone was extremely cooperative that we worked with. They're probably glad they're not going to have 5 phone calls from me a week. So probably that part we'll move from. So I think from that, we'll go to the next slide. And as Supervisor said, the town board and the village board looked at a number of reasons to look at the justice courts. Villages are not required to have the courts, towns are. Relative size of your courts on a statewide comparison, you fall in the small to low medium size. There are some that are 30-40 fold your size. There are some that are much smaller. I think another obvious factor is that your courts are physically located truly across the street from each other. So that just lent additional rationale for looking at this. The town board and the village board have indicated that what they're really looking for is what kinds of service improvements, what kind of cost effectiveness can we do? How do we improve the service from the perspective of the users, which are primarily constituents, and how can we do it in a cost-effective manner? Are there opportunities here for us to look at? And then, as the supervisor also said, Dutchess County, through their Municipal Innovations Grant, provided an opportunity to get the study done at no cost to the village or town. So here's through the process what the steering committee asked us to look for. They wanted to find savings. Can we reduce costs? Can we save taxpayers money? Can we reinvest some of that in improved service delivery for the constituents? Can we improve service delivery for both the public and some of your major stakeholders, which would include the offices of the district attorney, your public defender, the sheriff's transportation unit? How can we make this a better operation? And does consolidation enable that to happen? Are there duplications that are happening because the village is doing it and the town is doing it? Can we eliminate some of those duplications? In this day and age, everyone has a focus on security. Is there a way of improving court security, and that when you do it in a consolidated way, that you're not having to replicate it twice, but can you make some of those security improvements once for the community in one facility? And then the last piece is, while we're looking at this, can we take the opportunity to look at court facility improvements? And so LaBerge Group has a licensed New York State architect as part of the team, and as part of this project, we took a look at the facilities and came up with and had some findings and some recommendations and opportunities that we see potentially for the community. We'll see next slide, please. So before we jump into what we found, we just want to review what is that process of dissolving a village court. It happens, a village board of trustees can create a village court and they can dissolve it. And they can do that by resolution or local law, and that is subject to permissive referendum. Second really critical piece is that you can't do it at a time where you would interrupt a village justice's term, and the village justice term ends 3/31 of 2021. And then there's a transition process that takes place between the two courts, and then the active cases are transferred to the town court. So in the study, what we did was we looked at an overview of the justice court system. what is the responsibilities? What's the domains of the justice court system? What are they responsible for? We looked at the court operations. We looked at the village court operations. We looked at the town court operations. And then we brainstormed with everybody and got ideas from a variety of people on what would that look like if we were to consolidate those courts? How would it be different? Where would be some opportunities? We did the same thing with the facilities review. We looked at both facilities. We brainstormed the strengths and weaknesses of the facilities, and we identified potential opportunities for you folks to consider long term. And then we did a fiscal review to get back to what the Board of Trustees and the town board asked us. Can you find savings for the overall Rhinebeck community? How do we do that? What does that look like? And then in total, we kind of pulled it all together. We pulled all the information together from the various components, and we've put together for you a series of findings and opportunities. So here's our approach. Again, I think our approach really is grounded in a partnership with the local community. This isn't our study. This belongs to you. We are really just facilitators of that process of pulling out and pulling people together and looking at what are people's observations, what do people believe to be opportunities or issues that need to be addressed. We collected and analyzed a lot of data. We looked at your caseloads. We looked at your staffing. We looked at your budgets. We looked at your levy impacts. We did all of those pieces to bring forward to you folks a study. We conducted stakeholder interviews, and we distributed surveys to ask people for their inputs. We were looking for a variety of different ways of getting input. Our architect came down and spent a day, and we had tours of both facilities. The municipalities also provided for us relative to the facilities, any existing floor plans. Our architect did a comprehensive assessment of the facilities in order to come up with what would be some logical solutions for you folks. We prepared a review of current state, what do things look like now, and then what is a potential opportunity, what is the potential for a consolidated court? What would that look like so that you have something to compare to? So I'm going to walk through at a high level a series of findings that we have and opportunities. I'll walk through them at first, and then I think we'll get into some specifics on certain pieces of it in the next step of the presentation. So clearly we found that there is opportunity for operating efficiencies between looking at the way current operations are and the way operations could be. The key is, I think, that the number of court sessions could be collapsed over the course of a year, reducing the number of court sessions. There are a significant number of tasks and reports that the court staff have to provide on a daily, monthly, annual basis that you're doing at the town level and you're doing at the village level. If there was a consolidated court, while the volume of activity within those reports would be increased, you'd be literally cutting the number of reports you have to do in half. So you really, there's some really obvious opportunities. If we go from, right now you've got 2 courtrooms right across the street that are fairly large, nice space that also have offices attached. If we were to consolidate into 1 court, that frees up the other building to not have court activities in it and potentially can free up space for meeting space. We did find cost savings, and we'll walk through a little bit of that as we go down the presentation. But we believe that there's approximately $26,000 less in a combined justice system than as is if you added the two impacts of the village and the town. And the impact to the savings to the village is approximately $45,000 a year to the village government. And there is a slight increase of $19,000 to the town government, but an overall net savings of $26,000 to the Rhinebeck community. Office operations, we believe that with consolidated staff in one location, it provides for an ability to have enhanced office coverage, and then also backup coverage for staff when they're out. So it has a dual office operations component to it. I would say the stakeholder efficiency and effectiveness it was a very, very significant finding. And with all people interviewed in the justice system, as well as I think a number of the town board members that were on the steering committee and the village board members, they all identified that there is a confusion for the public in which court to go to on which night. They're located on the same street with very similar addresses. They're right across the street from each other, and they have the same name. They're both Rhinebeck Justice Courts. One is village, one is town. But we were very surprised at the level of inefficiency that has, how that impacts the justice court staff and all the other stakeholders in the system. So we were surprised at that finding, but it was a universal issue that was raised. We also identified along the same lines that because of the similarity in name, location, and the confusion as to which court do I go to? Is it the Monday night court? Is it the Wednesday night court? Am I there at 4 o'clock? Am I there at 6 o'clock? That it resulted in a number of missed court dates, just caused by nothing but the similarity in name and the proximity of the two courts. The court clerks identified that they spend quite a bit of their time fielding phone calls, working on reworking the calendars because people realized they thought it was 5 o'clock. No, that was the town court. It was actually, they should have been at the village court at 4 o'clock. So a number of those issues just really emerged through all the discussions. The other opportunity relative to court operations was court security. Currently, when you have two courts, and court security involves both facility and it involves operations. And to make those investments twice is very expensive for a small to medium-sized court. But when you combine them, there's more, it's relatively less expensive to make some of those improvements that I think both the town board, the village board, and the court system would really like to accomplish. And this could be an opportunity to address some of those things. An example being to be able to do weapon security checks at the entrance to the court. If both courts were to do it, you'd be replicating the system in both courts. And if with a consolidated court, you could do it significantly more cost effective in one court than two. Similarly, in order to look at and address some of the court facility improvements, again, we'd be doing it in two, we'd be recommending certain improvements in two court spaces. Whereas in a consolidated court facility, we could make a series of recommendations it worked out to be approximately half the cost to do one court than to make those improvements in two. And then last is we did identify grant opportunities, which we spoke to, and we hope that those grant opportunities will reemerge in the next year or so. So the architect, when he reviewed both courts, the village court and the town court, both were found to be very acceptable, very appropriate courts for the town and the village. The steering team.
You mean in terms of space?
In terms of space, correct. I apologize, yes. And the steering team asked us to look at the town justice court to be the identified facility to be used on a town-wide court. So our architect went in and did a more in-depth review of that, to provide you folks with some findings and possible recommendations for future design work. And that included a conceptual floor plan and a series of recommendations, which I'll outline in a few minutes. So I wanted to give folks the relativity of the two court sizes. I mean, as you can see, there's the town is slightly bigger, but on the vehicle and traffic, the village has about 80% of the caseload of the town. On the penal law, it's a little bit more like 50 to 60% when you look at it over multiple years. The criminal court, while the caseloads are lower, what we've learned from the justice court system and Judge Kane in particular, that those are the much more time-consuming cases. And so we have to be careful as we look at how we are looking at a consolidated court. We had to break it into the various types of cases. Next slide. So the staffing that you currently have is there are, in the town of Rhinebeck, there are 2 justices, both functioning on a part-time basis. And in the village, there is 1 justice and an acting justice that in the village justice's absence, there is always someone who could handle the cases. Court clerks, the town has 2 part-time clerks who work. When you look at their hours, they basically equal about 1 full-time equivalent staff person, and the village court has 1 full-time staff person. So you're basically functioning in total with 2 full-time equivalent staff people. What through the process, what emerged was that there is significant value in potentially converting the positions to full-time so that there's constant coverage, there's continuity. So that is an opportunity for you folks. But again, at the end of the day, there isn't a reduction in the full-time equivalent coverage in the consolidated court model that we all worked on together. So let's talk about the court sessions. So each town justice currently holds 2 sessions a month. There are certain months that there could be a collapsing of courts just based on current caseload. But in general, it's 2 times per month. At the village, the justice holds 2 sessions per month, one being the vehicle and traffic and the other being criminal. So in total, there are essentially 4 vehicle and traffic sessions held right now and 4 criminal court sessions held each month. The concept in a townwide is that the volume in the vehicle and traffic, the number of people that are coming into the courts, we wouldn't be able to collapse that down to just the 2 town existing courts. You would have to hold probably an equivalent number of vehicle and traffic sessions as you have right now, which is 4, but they would all be held at the town. Just the volume of people and the size of the room, for security purposes, you're probably at your limit. What the caseload did identify is that there's the potential to really just have to continue the 2 existing town criminal court sessions that you have every month. They may run a little longer, but that it was doable and feasible to do that in 2 court sessions per month. So right now you have 2 village criminal and you have 2 town criminal. And the recommendation would be to consider 2 town, but potentially with a slightly longer evening. So that just reduces, again, more of the confusion of where should I be, what time should I be there, what location. So another big piece of this, impact on the public, impact on your community partners, such as the district attorney, the attorneys, the sheriff's office, is that with a consolidated operation, it's going to give you the opportunity to increase the office hours at town and to have backup for your staff so that if they take a vacation, there's somebody there. And so what this does is you'll be able to have office operations Monday through Friday. You'll have limited missed calls because there's always somebody there, and hopefully limited calls in general, because there's less confusion as to which court, which time, missed court dates, etc. It will facilitate payment of fees and fines, meaning it's one place, less confusion, hopefully more time to facilitate some of those payments and management of those accounts, receivable accounts, and to facilitate dedicated time to records management, docket management, and accounts. There is quite a lot of responsibility on the staff, on the justices and the staff, relative to reporting requirements to New York State. Some of those are monthly, some of those are annual, and these reports have to be generated for each justice. So in theory, right now, there are 4 reports being done monthly. There's 4 annual reports being done because they're done by justice. In a consolidated world, you're cutting the number of reports that the staff and the justices have to produce in half. And there are a number of pieces to this. There's account reconciliations, there's bank reconciliations, there's reconciliation of the bank accounts to the other accounts, there's case management reports, case management reviews that need to be done. The volume will be greater, but the number of times you have to do it individually is reduced. Again, it provides efficiency for just common sense, ease for your partners in the community and the public. Lucy, thank you. So overall, for stakeholder impact, and I think the #1 stakeholder is the public and also your partners. A full-time justice court office operation with streamlined court sessions, one location, really does provide significant added value. There's the obvious efficiencies, but there's also just improved community relations and improved community understanding of where the court is, what the court is, where do I go, when do I do it. And hopefully with that, we'll become more compliance and less missed court dates and potentially additional affiliations and revenues to the municipality. All right. So Jim Clark, he is the architect, did quite an analysis, and he met and has had significant conversations with a number of the town staff and the village staff to come to some of these conclusions. That as we said, the space is adequate, but at this point of potential change, where are some of those opportunities for your consideration for some improvements? So I think the first piece is that in the town hall, you have a stage area off the town court. that was presented as an opportunity to pick up additional office space in town hall. So in theory, the concept is to flip the operations of the justice court in town hall and have what is now the stage area become the office area of the justice court system. That enables from a security perspective, an ability for the justices to enter the courtroom directly from their chamber area without needing to go through the court at all. It creates an opportunity to add some conference space within the courtroom area. There's conceptually a concept of creating a mezzanine to address some of the record storage issues that are had with court records. With court records being a significant volume of those of the records that need to be stored. And then security enhancements. We talked about the separate entrance for justices. Another recommendation would be to consider procuring interlocking chairs so that chairs are not picked up and thrown and used inappropriately. And the interlocking chairs really limits the capacity to do that. To identify a particular holding area for prisoners. And then to add the screening equipment and the operations component that would go along with including a magnetometer and or security wands at the front entrance. And then just general facility upgrades, heating, ventilation. So with this comes some potentially freed up space in town hall for use in other ways if we move the town justice court staff into the stage area. So there's some other opportunity that like a byproduct value to the town government. And we had talked about the grants, and I'll just name a few. The local government efficiency grant is offered through the New York State Department of State. They forewent the round this year just based on the COVID issues, but the grant opportunity is up to, for you folks, because there are two governments involved, up to $400,000, of which the local governments would have a 10% share or 40,000 of that. But that could go a long way to addressing any transition costs, to some of the court improvements that you may want to consider. You were fortunate enough to get a Dutchess County Municipal Innovations Grant. Maybe there would be something that could support the actual implementation. The Justice Court Assistance Program is a relatively small grant program, but it's available annually. That could provide you with another source of revenue to implement some of the improvements. And then records management being a big piece of this. There is also a local government records management improvement fund that could potentially be an opportunity. The management improvement fund really does focus specifically on shared service projects, so this would fit in nicely with their mission and agenda. So with the next piece that I wanted to review for you folks is what happens financially and fiscally to the town, to the village, if you were to consider consolidating. So we have to look at a couple of factors that are going on to just get some baseline information. So I might point you on this chart to the Village of Rhinebeck Justice Court. And if you look at the 2018-19 line, you can see that there are revenues totaling almost $86,000 that the courts generate. But the village itself only retained about $51,000 of that. The balance of that money is distributed to New York State and is distributed to the county government. The bulk of that differential going to the state. The county gets a very small piece. And you say, well, how does that get calculated? Well, each of the different types of statutes and laws that people may offend have different sharing relationships. So it's this complex set of New York State statutes, the Uniform Court Act, and variety of local laws that drive what that mix is. And you'll see it is different between the town and the village. And it is based on that whole complex mix of offenses and then the statute, the New York State statute. The second factor, we could go to the next slide. The next factor is what does the village, of the village budget, how much does the justice court cost the village taxpayer? And how much does the justice court in the town cost the town taxpayer? So what we did was we looked at both of that before we even talk about consolidation. And when you look at we took the year 2000, we took for the village, the 2019/20 budget, and we said, what does it cost based on the budget numbers? The only differential we did to the budget was we added in things like fringe benefits, retirement system costs, Social Security, those kinds of costs we added in to try to get a pretty fair picture of what does it cost the town. Then we said, how much revenues does the village get to keep that offset that cost? And we used the 2019-20 budget figure because it's 50,000, very reasonable based on your historical. And what it boils down to is the village taxpayer cost for the justice court is $43,000 a year, $44,000 a year. The town, on the other hand, has expenditures currently of $111,000 based on the town's 2020 budget. Plus we added in what are those fringe benefit costs similar that we did in the village. And then we said, what are the court revenues that the town retains, not the total amount, not the amount that goes to the state or the county. What is the amount that the town gets to keep? And what does that then mean if you, after that, what's the impact on the taxpayer? And you can see the impact on the taxpayer is lower in the town than it currently is in the village. So if we could go to the next slide. So what we did was we built a sample consolidated budget. And we looked at what does that all cost and how did different pieces shift? So what happens in the village, if you remember, had expenses greater than the revenues. So they get rid of all the expenses, but they get rid of the majority of the revenues. But at the end of the day, it saves the village taxpayer $45,000, over $45,000 a year. Town is picking up slightly higher expenses than it is revenues. But the overall savings to the Rhinebeck community is $26,000. So the consolidation, just based on the efficiencies and the way you can do things when you're in one building, not in two, generated $26,000 in savings. So when we looked at everything, we found positive impact to the public in terms of just common sense. Where do I go? How do I interface? Potential opportunity for your stakeholders. We found efficiencies in the system. We found efficiencies for how the staff operate and the types of things that they have to do all the time. And we found overall savings of $26,000 for the community. So those were the key things that came out of the study that we did over the past 6 or 7 months.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Okay.
Basically, what we're being, let me shut myself back on. Where am I? Sorry, everybody. Thank you for that. What we're being encouraged, pushed, cajoled to consolidate services and departments and delivery of services. And it's the right thing to do. It helps our taxpayers, and the village and the town of Rhinebeck work really closely together. But what we found here is that this is a no-brainer. Not only does it save money, which is of course important to us, it delivers a better product. We have a drain on our town clerk's office of people parading in all afternoon from 2 until when we close, looking for court clerks because they're closed after 2 in the afternoon. So we'll have one full-time court office open to serve the public the same hours that the court clerk is there. We'll also have a space that is compliant with the state judicial court code with chairs that can't be picked up and thrown and separate entrances for the judges. And we'll have security, which neither the village nor the town has now. So, you know, we're taking 2 departments of government right across the street from each other with the same judges and the same staff, and we're consolidating them in one space to serve the same people, saving money and delivering a better product. So thank you for working with us on this.
I'd like to just thank everyone who we worked with. It was really a nice partnership, and we very much enjoyed it.
As did we. Justice Kane, are you here? Do you have any questions? And I want to thank you and your court clerk for all the time that you spent working on this with us.
I just wanted to start off by congratulating or commendating Ms. Rooney for the very thorough statement. I just want to, not the legal point of view at first, but she commented on the cohesiveness of the courts where somebody is there. There's no uncertainty. People know when they're there, and we can consolidate certain dates, which would be best for everyone. I'll give you an example that, and it's based upon the legal aspect, that the town has jurisdiction or the ability to handle all the cases in the village. So it's not that you're taking village cases away from the village. The town has the authority to deal with all the cases. As far as the police are concerned, the Rhinebeck Police Department, they're willing and more than able to take care of the needs with the troopers and the sheriffs, but the Rhinebeck Police Department can help out and does help out, and staff. And there's several mentions to security. Without the magnetometer, aside from that, which is important, they have staff and they've always been committed, and they're certainly spend half their time in the village and half their time in the town. That can be put towards the town. There's the intangible, but it was made reference to as to the stakeholders. Now, I'll give you specific examples. That means when lawyers come or public defender comes, private lawyers rather, they are between 2 different courts. The sheriff's office has to bring prisoners to the extent that it's warranted that they are prisoners. And they first have to go to the village court and then wait until they finish. This is a duplication of time with the sheriff's office. They would come one time, no uncertainty about whose responsibility it is. And that logistics of transportation is a big deal. And furthermore, the public defender and the lawyers will have, especially with any conference room, it's very significant that they will have the ability to conference with their clients rather than meet with them a short time because we got to go to another court. That's very important from a judicial point of view. Then I'm satisfied that everybody has a full opportunity to discuss with their advisors what is important on the case. The only other point report was, this report is very thorough, and I and my court clerk met with Ms. Rooney in the past. I just want to say that as a judge, I would feel more confident than ever if there was the staff here covering the court, because we get, and the town employees are subject to people coming to the door and there's not a court. That's troublesome sometimes. So this will solve that problem. And that's not only a benefit to the court, but a benefit to the other town employees. I understand how difficult it is when a person is there and he or she is supposed to be there, but there's nobody from the judicial part to be there. That can all be solved. So people will feel comfortable, the stakeholders will feel comfortable. They'll know which day of the month Rhinebeck is meeting. That's a good thing. So well, that's just my general overview.
Thank you, and thank you for helping us sort through all this, Judge. You know, we think it's a good plan for everybody. Gary, Rick, do you have any comments or questions? Okay, town board members, do you have any questions or comments?
I do, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Very quickly, 3 things. I would second what Justice Kane said. The report is thorough, it's well organized, it's a very impressive job, and I think we should all be grateful for that. Kathleen mentioned in her report that overall costs after consolidation would go down by an estimated $26,000 a year. However, if I remember correctly from reading the report, and I have, and I recommend it, but you take some time, it's not a quick read. I believe, Kathleen, your report also says that overall revenue will not go down.
Chauncey, I think the net savings is, the village will save $44,000, around $45,000, and the town will come out ahead about 26. Correct, Kathleen?
Yes.
But for that savings and that realization, we're adding services that we don't have, like a full-time court office, full-time employees, the same judges, the same staff, and more and security.
Well, and I'm making a related point that overall costs will go down, but overall revenues will not go down. Is that right, Kathleen?
That is correct.
I think that's where
A small piece of the village clerk estimated at about 2,000 remains with the village, and the balance all shifts over to the town. But overall, it should stay the same.
Okay, my last comment is that if we do this, the location of the offices of the justices and their staff where the stage now is, Kathleen, you said that way they won't have to pass through the courtroom to get to their place during the proceedings, and that is correct. It also means they won't have to pass through the public hallway, which I imagine Justice Kane would find an improvement, and everybody else.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a little interesting at times.
Yeah,
I'll bet.
thank you. Anything else, Chauncey?
No, thank you.
Anything else, Josh or Ed, or who's my other board person, Alan? Warren, do you have any comments?
No. I think it's an excellent report. I don't want to weigh in on the issues at this point, though.
No. Yeah, LaBerge, Kathleen, you and Ben were a pleasure to work with, so thorough, so accommodating, and we really appreciate it, so thank you. I know that we'll see you in a couple of weeks in the Village Hall, but tonight I'd like to have a motion for tab number 2, Resolution 2020-179, accepting the court consolidation study and plan and referring it to the village. May I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Chauncey. May I have a second? Thank you, Alan. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We have sent it to you, Gary, but we've officially accepted this. We're endorsing it, and we wish you the best of luck and hope that your board will support it too, and we can consolidate the courts and deliver a better service. So I know that we're scheduled to be at your village board meeting in a week or so, so we'll see you there.
Yes, thank you very much for everybody.
Yeah, looking forward to continue to working with you guys. It's a pleasure to have such good friends and partners in local governance across the street.
Thank you.
Okay.
With that, we'll leave you.
Yep, and we'll see you at the village meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Kane. Good night. You guys can stay or leave. Yes, Kathleen, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our town board meeting.
Enjoy.
Okay, moving right along. Warren, is there anything else that you would like to stay for?
No, you mentioned something else. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was something else on the agenda?
I think it's climate smart, but we're fine.
I don't think you need me for
I
that.
don't think we do either.
Yeah. Okay. I have another meeting to go
Yeah.
to run to.
Okay, good night.
By any chance.
Thank you. Um,
All right. See you guys later.
Thanks for your
Bye,
help with the zoning amendment. I'm glad we finally did that. You guys, let's just get some of the other presentations on the way. Carrie, you wanted to discuss some recreation issues with us, correct?
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth.
Carrie is Carrie McCurdy is our acting recreation director, soon to be recreation director. I think we're just waiting for civil service approval, correct?
Yeah, yes, that's right. So hi, everyone. I did want to bring up a couple of issues that Elizabeth and I had talked briefly about. One thing is the use of pavilions. And I know that we have decided to allow the Friends of the Library to have their book sale in a pavilion in October. They've had a couple of meetings in one of the pavilions, and they will need several days during the book sale prior to and after, both for setting up and cleaning up. So with that, the folks at the library, I guess, have indicated to other groups that we have allowed this, and now I'm getting quite a bit of contact from other groups. I had already gotten contact from people prior to this about using the pavilions as well.
Well,
And the decision had been made that we weren't going to allow use or rental of the pavilions.
well, that was in high COVID time. And
Right.
now our infection rate is very, very low. And I wanted, Carrie to get used to coming before us and talking to us, but also to ask you guys what you wanted to do. Do we want to open up pavilion use and rental to community groups and people, or just community groups and not the public? What's your feeling here, Alan?
Yeah, the problem is that there are no restrooms, and the pool is there. So, there's at least a safety consideration. The reason I thought the library use was reasonable is because the library has restrooms, and the library people can use those. Whereas if somebody has an event at one of the pavilions, there are no restroom facilities.
Good point. What do you guys think?
I'm astonished. I think I remember lots of discussion about restrooms when we were working on the pavilion matter.
I understand, but
Our restrooms aren't open to the public, John.
Oh, they're not open yet. Oh, okay.
Because of COVID.
All right, I stand corrected.
We do have them. They're
Okay.
not. That's a good point. Josh, what's your feeling?
I mean, the tennis courts are open. There's no, they're being, it's not, but people are surviving.
Ed?
Bathroom facility at the library sounds workable. I think Alan's right.
Well, I mean, it doesn't mean that the library will give us their restroom facilities
they
if
won't.
we open up the pavilion. Carrie, was there anything else you wanted us to talk about?
Well, we have also gotten requests to have the basketball hoops replaced. Since basketball,
Replace?
well, put back up because we had Bobby take them down. Because,
Is it, okay, let's stay with the pavilions.
oh, okay.
Do you have a recommendation, or the rec committee, or?
I have not spoken to the rec committee about this. We haven't had any meetings. The only thing that I'll say is if you do decide to open them up, I don't know that I would feel comfortable charging for them, because we do normally charge $25 for a
Are
rental.
you talking about the pavilion at the end of the pool?
Yes.
I think we should leave it closed since it's closed. I think we don't have the staff on board. We don't have the bathroom. We don't have the porta potty. That's just my feeling.
Well,
Okay.
I agree with Elizabeth. So.
I do too.
What, Ed?
agree. Me too.
Josh?
I'm outvoted.
Chauncey?
Are we distinguishing between the new pavilion and the one near the pool?
We're only talking about the one by the pool. The new pavilion it's there. The bathrooms aren't open and they're not open in the winter.
Okay. Just a feeling that with regard to the new pavilion, and I'm not sure I followed the conversation quite correctly, so I'm not sure how this fits, but as far as the new pavilion is concerned, it's a really nice facility. It sits there. I'd love to see us start using it as soon as we can. The other questions, who we let use it and what we charge, that's secondary. I'd less like to see us put the thing in service.
Well, we had a little COVID pandemic, which
Yeah.
put the brakes on opening anything.
I hadn't forgotten.
I agree, yeah. All right, Carrie, I think the consensus is we're just going to let the library have it and and as far as the basketball, I think the governor told us to take them down, but if he says we can put them up, put them up.
Basketball and volleyball are still considered high risk, and I have not seen any recommendations specific to park facilities. The recommendations I've seen are regarding places like gyms and places that have teams. So it's a little bit different, I think.
Yeah, I took them down because he said it. We had to. So,
So leave it. I mean, I'm in agreement with you too.
I don't have the public health experience to supersede the state's recommendation, and we don't have. We're not the county. I've just been going by that. So,
Sure.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, you guys on board?
Yeah. I mean, the other consideration, just so we'll have a complete story, is if we do let people use the bathrooms, they have to be.
We're talking about the basketball court, not the bathroom.
But in any case, the facilities have to be disinfected, which is an expense that we're also not ready for.
Yeah, we don't have the labor to clean as frequent. That's why we didn't open. It was a labor issue, we couldn't make so part of what we didn't do with camp, we don't have the labor to disinfect according to the State Department of Public Health recommendations. So,
Right.
And I think it served us well. The county's doing really, really well with COVID infections. So, all right, Carrie, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
And I know I'm seeing you tomorrow for budget. If you could just email Shelley and I your budget pages beforehand, and I'll send out a Zoom.
Okay, I did email them to Shelley. I'll email them to you as well.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Now we have a brief presentation from David Chernak, who's our BARD, Center for Environmental Policy graduate student, who is helping the joint town and village committee, environmental committee, and he has been taking a deep dive into our town code and comprehensive plan to look at specific recommendations as they affect environmental issues. So David, tell us what you know.
Hey, thanks for the intro, Elizabeth. So I'm just gonna share my screen. I have a couple slides up for you guys. So yeah, I'm David Chernak. I live in Hyde Park, but I went to high school in Rhinebeck, and I'm currently a grad student.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, I graduated in 2013, and after college, now in grad school with the Bard Center for Environmental Policy, where I'm getting my master's degree in environmental policy. And Matt Stinchcomb reached out to me to basically engage me in this internship, working with, as Elizabeth said, the Joint Environmental Committee. I'm directly overseen by Vanessa Bertozzi. And I've been working closely with Josh and with Gary and with some other folks, basically going through the 2009 comprehensive plan, seeing what's in there, tracking down leads and figuring out which of the many objectives that were outlined in that report were undertaken and completed in the 10 years since.
Out
Yeah,
of the 400 and some odd recommendations?
445 to be exact. Now I know. So it's been an interesting 3 months. I'm about halfway through. I've written a couple of things so far. And actually, if you look in the chat, there's a Google Drive folder of all of the reports that I've finished up so far. It's about 10 reports and various interview write-ups and all sorts of goodies. So yeah, like I said, I've reviewed and made up this whole big spreadsheet, which is in there. Not completely complete yet, but almost there, of the tasks that were explicitly outlined by the comprehensive plan. And basically figuring out what got done, what was done at the time the comprehensive plan was published, and what was not done. And this was all with the goal of kind of an environmental focus, especially in the village, which just got its bronze certification from the Climate Smart Communities program. We're looking for ways to kind of advance to the next level. And we're looking for basically things in the comprehensive plan that are serving as the impetus for planning. If it says that we should do something in the comprehensive plan, we got to do it.
David, let me just interrupt because I actually looked at this and like your thing here, operating farms that have prime agricultural soils should have a priority for the proposed purchase of development rights program. But that stuff like that is not within our control.
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue that I'm bumping up against with this sort of review.
Because it's such an aspirational list, and we can't affect, like having the station not become an MTA station. There are things on here that really we have no say about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of included in my analysis, in that a lot of these things are very aspirational. And impossible to track down because they're, just conversations with PTCDC and various other agencies that, they're impossible to track down, but they are aspirational. And, I'm not so much just trying to say that, all of these things didn't get done in the comprehensive plan. It's more saying, these are the goals that we had in the comprehensive plan. And ideally, this is how we should be thinking about a comprehensive plan update. In all my conversations that I've had with planners at the kind of regional level, with the Hudson Valley Regional Council and some folks, also locally, there's this idea that comprehensive plans should be updated every 5 to 10 years. And, we've since eclipsed that with the town's comprehensive plan. And it would be a really good idea to update it. The town comprehensive plan, as it stood in 2009, had nothing to say about climate change. The words emissions, climate change, global warming were not mentioned at all. And obviously, there's been a huge programmatic focus, that's shifted since then with the commencement of the Joint Environmental Committee, which was 3 years ago, and that's now a big focus that is, visibly lacking from the comprehensive plan. So basically what I've, been doing in addition to, digitizing that whole spreadsheet and lists of tasks that is in the comprehensive plan, is writing a literature review, which was the first thing I did, about basically what the contemporary thinking is about a lot of the initiatives that were included in the plan and what's kind of come up since. There are a lot of initiatives such as composting, things that weren't included at all in the comprehensive plan that I'm thinking should be included in a potential update. And my final report, which I'll be giving at the end of December, I'm only halfway through my project as it stands now, that will include a prioritized, top 10 list of tasks that I think the village should undertake, the town should undertake, ideally some that the town and village can undertake together. And that'll be the main output of this project. And that's the idea. And that's what Matt Stinchcomb and Vanessa Bertozzi had in mind, is that this project will create not necessarily ready-made, but ideally projects where we know where we could go for funding, where we know where we could go for grants, and things that could be implemented fairly quickly and impactfully, that are going to serve to reduce emissions, help our standing in climate smart communities, and increase sustainability. So that's kind of the main goal of my plan, or of my project. How I'm going about it is in a variety of ways, including going through all the measures of the comprehensive plan, which, all those tasks, they range in scope from, changing something about the noise regulation. So, and things like that. And then, things to like, we should be preserving as much land as possible through conservation districts, very widely ranging in scope. Yeah, so, what's coming up are, 2 more reports, one on transportation, which I'm about to finish, and another on energy. I'm going to review basically what happened with the LEED standards, which I heard was a bit of a mess when that happened. That law is still kind of a hole in the town code.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Our LED streetlights?
No.
Oh,
No,
no,
the lead,
Oh, the lead. Yeah.
lead standards that were stripped out of the comprehensive.
Yeah, I don't think it was a mess. I think what we found is that it might, that there was a disconnect between what builders were doing and what, the burden on homeowners, and contemporary building standards were maybe as good as what they were recommending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, just things like that in general, where, that was, like you said, it was implemented without the necessarily knowledge to make a policy like that effective. And, that's, something that's come up in a couple of cases. But yeah, so that's pretty much, what I have left to do. And then again, prioritizing our recommendations for what can get us climate smart community points. And I know that the town is not yet climate smart certified. It's taken the climate smart community pledge, but it's not bronze certified as the village is. So that's
Yeah, we have all the necessary points. We just haven't done the paperwork.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was what that point on the agenda was about.
Yeah, we'd love for you to do it, but I don't think you can. But so
yeah,
need to find someone to
Elizabeth,
do it.
I just want to say one thing about the aspirational. The goal here is for actionable. So just to be clear about that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Great.
So we'll look forward to your further reports, and we could put this one on our town website. And, I guess the town board should look at it and make sure that you don't have any questions before we put it up.
Sure. Yeah. And I posted the file to a link rather to that Google folder in the chat. So those materials are all completed and are ready to be shared whenever you would like.
Great. Thank you, David. And thanks for your work with helping us in the village and the Joint Environmental Committee.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, David.
Sure. I think Sue, you're next, Sue. Are you still here?
Gave up.
Let's come back to Sue C. We'll go through our meeting resolution. Yeah, it's been one of our longest meetings. So I'm going to go to the money first. I'm going to go to tab number 8. I'll make a motion for resolution 2020-185, our preliminary accounts payable abstracts 978 checks for $276, 344.46. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. I will make a motion for our resolution 2020-186 for our capital projects abstract. One check for $2,173. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Chauncey. Is there any discussion? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Back to page 1. Sue, are you there yet? Oh, no.
I'll text her.
Okay. Resolution 2020-178, authorizing highway superintendent to advertise for 2021 material bids. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Alan. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Ed. Any discussion?
This
All in
is,
favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. What was that, Alan?
I was going to say, this is what we do every year. It's just all the materials for road maintenance and salt.
Yeah. Josh, did you say something?
I just heard from Sue via text. She's trying to get back on.
All right, or we can reschedule her. I know it's really late. It's a long meeting for us.
Here she comes.
Hi, Sue.
Hello all. Sorry about that little tech.
No, sorry. This
Thank
is
you
a
for
very
being-
long meeting for us. Thanks for being flexible.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So you're going to talk to us about the Conway study, which you generously funded for us. And it's an amazing study, and about recommendations for projects within the Conway study for our consideration.
Great. I first have to say that the process was very interesting and helped me to learn more about the park myself. And as being part of the park committee, it was very enlightening. And I think there are some things that I would like to suggest. We have only had 2 meetings so far, so we haven't really done very much at all, except talk about our structure and organization. But what I'm finding is that the park is made up of many different parts. You know, the library, the rec park, you know, the community garden, and it would be nice to have representation from all of those elements work with the park committee so that we can look at the whole park more holistically. And I'm not sure how, if you have suggestions for how that can be done, that would be great, you know, because I know the library is in process of working on plans for their site. So it'd be great to, you know, mesh our ideas together. And to that effect, what David Chernak just said about the comprehensive plan being done in 2009, I have sort of the same feeling about our park plan. I mean, it was done quite a while ago. I know it was done with a lot of effort, and people want to hold on to that, you know, that victory, as it were. But I feel like things have really changed, and maybe we need to relook at the park,
but
you know, as a whole.
I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but
sure.
The Conway study really focuses on sustainability in the park and future shade and pollinator gardens, like Dave was saying, all the things we weren't talking about, you know, in 2007, 8, 9.
Yes.
Do we need to redo the park master plan, or do we do an overlay? Like, what's the best way to do it?
Well, my question is, do we still need, you know, ever many soccer fields are planned, or, you know, is there still the need for those programs?
Well, the soccer people will tell you yes, and we have one turf soccer field planned because of, you know, global warming. We're back to turf now.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, so that it's playable all year round.
Right. Oh, that's right. Turf means AstroTurf.
Yes, it's okay. and it's a better product now than it was 10 years ago. And we have put money aside to do a master plan reno for the pool area and the buildings and the playground, which desperately need it.
Sure.
Maybe we need to look at that in conjunction with some of the recommendations from the Conway.
Sure, yes.
Because, you know, what we want to do is, you know, 20, 30, 40 years from now, have something that's cooler and feeds our pollinators and, you know, feeds our residents, whether it's herbs or, you know, there's a lot of opportunity here with that land.
Okay, I'm going to share with you my Google Doc. It's in the chat box of recommendations. one of the main things that was well substantiated is that we need more shade in the park to make it more usable. And with climate change and global warming, warming trends, it makes it even more important. So I think one of the most easily actionable items is to start with a shade tree plan and planting. So that was my first realization from the survey that they did. A lot of people wanted to have shade, and they showed, where the patterns of light and shade in the whole park. The other was, the question I have is the farmland, and what our agreement with farmer is, and how much we can. I would love if we could work with the farmer to implement pollinator strips within his agriculture. And
I mean, the farmland in our
yes, the one that farmer Scholdorf
farm uses for feed.
Yes. So, there are a couple of things that I have that we can take action on that don't really cost anything, which is the management of the open fields, to use the management plan that was recommended by the Conway study, which preserves habitat for as long as possible for insects as well as other animals. I think there should, I'm not sure who the town, is there a pathway or a trails committee?
There's
For
a
the
trails
park?
committee.
It's all the park committee.
No, we have a trails committee that is working with Alta on trails to connect Amtrak with the village. The trails within the park are overseen by our maintenance department and the park committee.
Oh, okay.
But we do have a separate trail committee that Josh.
I know they did put some new signs up, so I was wondering who did that part of it. Who was overseeing the blue trails and the whatever other signage is there.
What do you mean overseeing?
I mean, who is working on that? As far as what the signs are called, where are they going, and
well, the park committee has been charged with four things, which is overseeing the maintenance, development, and further development of the trails, doing an RFP for the renovation and renewal of the playground, pool, and courts area, Conway study and sustainable garden projects, and the soccer fields.
Okay.
That's the charge of the recreation committee.
Rec committee or the park committee?
Sorry, the Mazzarella Park Committee.
Okay. So to that end, I think it would be great to work with the rec department and who previously developed the trails in the whole park.
What's it was a part of the master plan, and it was done by the Thompson Mazzarella Park Committee and the Eagle Scouts and
okay,
and some contractors.
So the other part was how much can we work with the farmer? What is the agreement with him?
I mean, you can basically bring us through yourself or the committee any ideas that you want, and we can say yay or nay.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, guys?
Yes.
It would be good to work with the park committee, however.
Well,
yeah, no, I'm here just by myself. We haven't had a meeting yet because of COVID.
And Sue is on the park committee. So, I think this board is pretty supportive. And I think we've said that, we have a budget session coming up, and, we could look at funding a portion of this. We could look at putting in small trees that would be big trees in 20 years.
Okay. The other thing was signage. We saw a real need for signage to make the park easier to use and more recognizable, you know, the distances, you know, of the loops, and you know, in particular, a sign near the pedestrian entrance in the eastern corner off of Market Street.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have, you know, a trails map there with distances and a welcome, and you know.
Isn't there that in the kiosk area?
There is, but it's not really geared towards somebody walking off Market Street from the village. You know, it's not a pedestrian friendly thing. You have to drive and park in the parking lot to see
anything that you want to bring us. As I said, it's budget season. I've been saying I'd love to see the front field naturalized, you know, like it should be a pollinator field.
Because I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback here.
Yeah, we all are. It's just a work.
So would it be okay to start to get some pricing for different things, like putting in a pollinator field or signage? I have people.
There's 5 people who make a decision, and you should work with Josh to get us anything that you want, and this board will decide whether or not they want to fund it. I can look at it for my preliminary draft budget, and then the board will decide, you know, with the tentative budget.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Josh, for all your help on this.
Is that okay? I'm nominating you for yet another project, Joshy.
No, it's fine. I think it's sort of in my wheelhouse. I'm interested. I'd like to help.
Great. So yeah, just my outline pretty much goes through the notes that I went with. I really would like to work with the farmer. The shade trees would be great. A pollinator demonstration garden. Now, the pollinator demonstration garden that was designed by Conway is actually, I believe, on the library plot. So I'm not sure how that works. Like, how does the town interact with the library?
I don't think we'd fund something on someone else's land. I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't.
Okay.
I mean, we could move it someplace else.
Sure.
You know, I mean, to me, the mowed lawn in the front, just, it's anachronistic. You know, it doesn't say nourishing, sustainable.
It could be a beautiful meadow.
Yeah.
You know, that would be really lovely.
Yeah. You know, with a mowed out seating area in the center and a kiosk for trails. So there's so much potential there. And you know, it's labor saving as well when you're not mowing.
Sure.
You know, and there's no emissions. And, you know, I just say, you know, come up with some ideas with numbers and present them to Josh. And, you know, we got to have our budget done we're going early this year. We're going the end of October, I think. So.
Okay. Okay. Are there any requirements? Josh, I know we talked about it for who we're hiring to do any of this stuff. Do they have to be licensed in some way or go through any?
I don't think so, but I think we need to understand the magnitude.
Sure.
And then figure it out from there. But I think if we're talking about plantings and things like that, we probably need someone, as you mentioned, back from Conway to give us some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a temporary thing or if it's not construction, I suspect there's some leeway.
You know, also during this time of COVID, we didn't spend a lot of money on active recreation. So we have some money to from the savings this year. We didn't want a savings. We just couldn't safely open our camp to fund some passive recreation that will be sustainable. I mean, if you get a sign made, the highway department can put it in. If you're doing a no-mode field, you know, it can be implemented in different ways. So I think your job is sort of, you know, making a list and prioritizing what would be good to see done, bringing it to the board, and we can see if we can fund it or not.
I wanted to add that two of the things that I really loved about the study were the suggestion of viewing pavilions on the trail loop, one overlooking the intersection of the two kills, which there are all these pathways. You know, I think you wanted to avoid, people trampling there, but it's happening because people are just naturally drawn there. So to put something there that would prevent, erosion, be an actual pavilion, I think would be really a great asset.
To wit, Poets Walk, some of my favorite places are the pavilions, just a respite and
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your passion for what you're doing and your generosity with the Conway study and the park and all the fruits, no pun intended, of the garden. It's a real asset for us, Sue. So thank you. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And I will be talking to you more. I mentioned it to Josh, but I have Backyard to Table, which is my, initiative to teach people how to grow their own food. And I think now more than ever, because of this food insecurity crisis, I was going to put together a package that we could provide and be a town service for people who want to have gardens, and just say, we would get volunteers to help.
This.
What's that? Yes.
Like this. Here's your plan. Do it. Yeah. That's great.
And we thought it would be great to do a kickoff garden at the town hall. That might be probably.
Again, we talk about our landscaping. It's a little anachronistic. And wouldn't it be great if we had herbs and pollinators and tomatoes, or I don't know,
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. All right, thank you all. Do you have any questions? I was wondering if anyone has looked at it, and I'd love to get feedback, what you thought.
It was so aspirational, and I was really impressed with the amount of work that they did in such a short time, and there's so much there to look at and choose from. It's exciting, and it, like you said, what excited me was thinking about future park through this lens. So I'm really grateful for that.
Good.
I love the idea of the stands of shade trees and breaking up the fields. I found it, it was a really feel-good project. There was no negativity about that.
That was aspirational, as you said.
Yeah, it was.
Well, let's make it reality.
I agree.
Piece by piece. So, perennial gardens take 3 to 5 years, right? So we got to start now and keep moving ahead.
Well, thank you all for your time on this.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Have a great evening.
Okay, look forward to seeing you. Okay. All right, back to anything. Okay, I think, guys, we're through all the presentations. We've done 1 and 2. I'm going to tab 3, Resolution 2020-180, approving the proposed name of the private drive located on parcel ID, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Josh. May I have a second?
I'll second it, but can I ask where this is?
Yeah, remember this is the extension of Will Tremper Road that comes out on Ackert Hook that the developer wanted to call after his son, and we said no, and we made the resolution that our historians weigh in on all town road names, and they should be reflective of the physical and historical aspect of the town.
Right.
So the agreed upon name that our historians proposed is Forest Drive, because it was part of an old court drive, court lane, yes. So it's the extension of Will Tremper, the Stortini area, to the south on Ackert Hook. And there will be 2 roads there eventually.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Resolution 2020-181, appointment to the Conservation Advisory Board, Craig Oljewski. Are we tabling this, Ed?
No.
We just had another resignation today.
Who was that? Sorry, who was that?
Rachel resigned today.
Okay, we need 2 more resignations.
Craig's got a great resume. He seems really well qualified. I just feel like we keep losing people. I don't know if it's too much of a chore for the board. I can't hear you at all. I see your mouth moving, but.
Yeah, thanks. No, we're going to work on that. We're getting it better. Okay.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
working on active members, inactive members. That's what we have a discussion after the meeting near the end. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
I mean, I think his resume is terrific, and he's a resident. It'll be great to have him. So thanks for stepping up, Craig. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Resolution 2020-182, opening a climate smart community account with the Department of Environmental Conservation. May I have a motion, Josh?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Resolution 2020-183, advertise for part-time laborers in Conservation Advisory Board clerk. May I have a
Make that-
motion? Ed, thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Ed, I talked to the clerks. I talked to the chairs of the planning board and the zoning board of appeals and the clerks to see if they could take on, between the two of them, the Conservation Advisory Board. And they're mulling it over to see how it could work. I think that that would be, a lifesaver. And, we rely on the staff often to tell us how best to do things. So let me see what they say. It's really hard to fill a 5-hour-a-week job.
So we should table this, I guess.
Well, no, I think we could pass it and then just not advertise for the Conservation Advisory Board clerk. We do need part-time laborers. And this is for at the transfer station and at the landfill. Ed?
Or actually, yes, those 2 places primarily, but whoever this is could fill in other places where when we need them, that'd be great.
And this is a $15 an hour job? Yes?
Yes, to start with, it is, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. We're having terrible audio. Josh, did you have to say something?
I just said aye. I was going to say yes.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? So moved. Resolution 2020-184, requesting the New York State Department of State to assist Rhinebeck and other communities to address our concerns with Amtrak's proposed fencing plan and the loss of our access to the Hudson. I will make a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Chauncey. For the public, this just authorizes us to send this resolution to the Department of State, and it's a continuation of all the work that we're doing with Jeff Ansavino and Scenic Hudson and Riverkeeper to make sure that we are preserving our access to the Hudson as Amtrak continues to try and put fences up all along it. Any further discussion? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Gosh, hold on. Capital projects
11.
table, tab 11, resolution 2020-188, renewal of lease for highway two-way radios from Nycomco. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks. Chauncey, may I have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, great.
You do a highway superintendent to advertise for material bids, or did I
Yeah,
miss
we
it?
did that while we were waiting for Sue. I think while you were calling her. That's okay, you were calling Susie. I think we got it all, guys. Any
There we go.
discussion items or?
You have one.
I do want to let everybody know that there's a whole controversy going on with the Olin Dow murals at the post office. In the next week or two, they're going to be covered up. Gary Bassett, the mayor, and I are working with Bill Jeffways, who's the Dutchess County Historical Society president, and our historians, Nancy and Mike Fraser, Nancy Kelly and Mike Fraser, to try and appeal to not have them up and to start a meaningful conversation about how people of color, Black people, and enslaved people are depicted. And we don't know why the post office is moving to cover them up, other than that there was one opinion letter by a well-meaning resident in Rhinebeck. Doesn't really seem to reflect everybody's views. So I just want to let you all know that as a town board or as the supervisor, I am helping to make sure that the murals stay up. That's,
One other item.
yeah.
The Conservation Board has 4 active members. There are 3 inactive members. They are requesting that I ask them to step down.
Who's requesting?
The 4 active members are asking for, one already resigned today. You said Rachel resigned. We have 2 others, Amy, who won't come on board until January, and Nancy Richard, who's inactive as well. They're asking to make space so we can add members that would be active, because they have to do site visits. There aren't many people. There are only 4 active, 2 Dixon and 2 Bakers. I can't hear you.
You're muted, Liz.
I was muted. I know that Amy can't serve because of family issues. If we find somebody else, we could ask them.
We got 2 more in Joe Kupiak and Craig tonight. We have other 4 active members, so they might make 6. But they're asking for the other 3 to step down, because they would like to get some people who would be active and working. So I just,
Nancy Richards is incredibly active. She's running the whole renovation of the Church of the Messiah, and Amy's just out of town on family business and can't start until January, correct?
This is Nancy or this Amy?
Well, Nancy's the former and Amy's the latter.
Yeah, Nancy, apparently they think that they need active members. They don't even attend meetings, or they don't do site visits.
Well,
So
let's
I
not
can
be
understand where they're
disparaging.
coming
It's a heavy-duty volunteer job, and whatever you guys want to do, I'm not in favor of asking people to step down.
Is that what's on the table, or the issue is we need more people?
Both, I think.
So Ed, maybe you and I can speak tomorrow, just so I can better what the requirements are, because maybe there's someone from my group that might fit the.
Ed, who are our active members?
The 2 Dixons, Mark Dixon and his son, George Baker, and another Baker. I forgot her first name, but they're not related to Bakers.
Gabriella.
Yeah, Gabrielle.
And then
Gabby
Craig
Baker. Thank
and Joe Kupiak.
No, right.
And
That
both
makes
of those guys
6.
came to the last meeting. So they're prepared.
That's only 8 people, so who's the 9th? We have the
don't
two
have a ninth
Dixons,
right
the
now.
two Bakers, Craig, Joe.
We have
Why don't you
seven?
talk to Joe about it? I'd talk to Josh about it tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe there's just somebody in my world, you know.
Yeah, okay. But should I ask those people who are inactive to step down? That's the question.
I think you should be
Yeah,
patient
I
with
know.
Richard, because I think she's going to become available after December.
Okay, Fred, thanks. Nancy's overseeing the renovation of the Church of the Messiah. She's an incredibly powerful, wonderful woman.
Yeah.
And I know she's got her handfuls with running the, sorry, I couldn't help it, Fred, it's late. This is a big meeting for us. She's running that whole renovation. If she would give us, you know, a quarter of that energy, she'd have this whole, you know, she's terrific. And, you know, Amy Wu's got great credentials as well.
They're stopping in December. They can't finish the project because of funding. So Nancy's going to have some time.
There you have it. Great. I'm loath to ask people to step down. I think, but you guys decide. I say no. Josh?
Yeah, I have to understand the situation a little bit more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm the,
Okay, here's the situation. Most visits to be done, and people have to go out and do those. Apparently, the only 4 people ever doing these are the 4 I mentioned, the Bakers and the Dixons. Nobody else is doing anything.
I think Josh has just said he wants to sit down with you and talk. Nancy will be back on in December, and Amy will start in January.
Yeah, Ed, let's talk tomorrow so I just understand it a little bit better.
Chauncey, do you have any input?
No, I don't. I
Thoroughly exhausted?
No, I think it's a good idea to let Josh and Ed meet and
Thrash it out.
over and, you know, on the
Right.
subject of asking people to step down, it is sensitive and difficult. And of course, another way to do it is to let the terms expire and gently, if that's possible, not reappoint.
Okay, and you guys, I'm starting all of my budget meetings this week and next week. So please make a list of all of the capital projects that you may want to be considered and make sure I have them by the end of next week. Yep, for any of your committees or stuff, you know, we can spend some funds balance on capital projects.
Good.
All right. Anything else? If we haven't said it within 2 hours, I think we're done. What do you guys think? Motion to adjourn.
yes.
Right.
So moved.
Thanks, everybody. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.